Hey guys, welcome back to Bell Mountain Power Sports. I wanted to do a video about using a Heli coil kit. I've got a Harley Davidson here that had a strip rocker cover box bolt. Somebody over tightened it, or they, or it's just from going on and off too many times. Sometimes the aluminum threads get stretched, and all of a sudden they go. Um, This one, I knew it was bad when I took it off because the bolt was loose and the lifter was looser. The exhaust lifter was looser than the intake lifter, and that's because the threads stretched and they stripped it, and so it wasn't pulling down and torquing properly. So luckily, I was able to get to this bolt without pulling the head off. So normally a head would come off and would go in the mill, and we zero it out level, and then do all of our drilling and tapping with the mill, or drill press. And so, but now I'm already a lot of hours into this job, and the customer's kind of on a budget, so I didn't pull the head off. So if this is the case, you don't always have to pull something off to do it, and I kind of want to show you how I do it. I'll just drop something here on the floor. So there are three parts to this Heli coil. Okay, now Heli coil is a brand name. It is not. So the Heli coil is a thread repair kit. So this is a stainless steel coil type. Now, if this was a head bolt that had a lot of torque, I would use a thread insert. It's solid. It's not a spring coil like this is. This is okay for light duty stuff, where this rocker bolt is only about 14 foot-pounds, so it doesn't take a lot of torque. And so here is the Heli coil. It's a spring coil. It gets threaded down into the hole after you tap it with this tap. And the tap comes with instructions that tells you what size drill to use, and it's right on here, and it says here that this is a 5/16 by 18 tap, for a 5/16 by 18 threaded bolt, and to use a 21/64 drill bit to drill the old threads out and retap it with this so that the Heli coil can be threaded into that tap hole. And then what's on the inside of this Heli coil is the thread for the bolt that you're using. And so how you insert this after you drill the hole out and tap it is that you screw it onto this installer tool here, and you just thread it on there until it stops. There's like a little tab here that you can see that stops the tool from going all the way through. So, and then this gets dropped into the hole, and you turn this in with a cap handle. And if your bolt is long, like this one is here, obviously you can see that one isn't enough, so I'm going to stack two. Now what happens when you stack two is, once this is in, the other piece, the other thread insert, just sits right on top of it, and it will stop as soon as it hits the top. You see that? It will stop as soon as it turns, and it will stop. And then these threads will be perfectly lined up, and your bolt will go through. Okay, and that little tab that's left in the center, you use a punch the size of this hole, and just put the punch in there and tap it, and it'll snap right off and get out of the way. Okay, so that's how it works. So the most important thing about tapping a hole, especially for a bolt that's going to be torqued, is making sure that it's completely level on both sides. And when you drill the hole, so if you drill it out and it's not straight, your tap's not going to be straight, and your insert's not going to be straight, and then the bolt's not going to be straight, and then you're going to have a bolt that's kind of cocked, and you're only going to be making contact with one part of the bolt head, and you want that bolt head to be completely flat. That's why if you took it to a machine shop, they're going to put it in a vise that's level to the headstock of the drill that's coming down. So when it's drilled, it's completely level, this way and this way. Okay, so in a pinch now, we have a little bit of wiggle room on this bolt, sideways, backwards, but definitely not. We can't scrimp on the level, but we have a little bit of wiggle room because I'll show you on the part that it's going through right here. Okay, the hole in here is larger than the bolt. You can hear it rattle. So we got a little bit, but we still don't want to. We want it as center as possible. Now, the old hole and thread will guide you somewhat because the aluminum is soft that I'm drilling into, and usually the drill will follow the hole, the existing hole. But you definitely don't want to lean it, and you got to be careful. Go slow. All right, so what this requires is making three guide bushings, and I made 3 guide bushings out of some polymer round stock, and I drilled out the holes. These had existing holes in them. I had 3 different sizes, and they were very close to what I was using, but I still had to drill them out. And when you drill these out, don't use the exact size drill you need. Gradually go up to it one drill step at a time, because you don't want to really tear it out and mar it out. So on these, I used, depending on how big the hole was to begin with, on this bigger one, I used 4 different drill bits. And I just went a 16th at a time, a 16th at a time, a 16th at a time, till I got it up to the exact size that I needed. So the first guide bushing that you need, which is the most important, is the one for the drill that you're using to drill out the hole. In that case, it is this one here. So this drill bit is a 21/64. Okay. So this is the first drill bit that I use to drill out the old threads. Okay. So what that does is that you set this bushing on top of, I'm going to move you closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think you can see that. So this bushing sits on top of the head here. And then your drill bit's going to come right down in here. Okay? And you're going to hold this completely level and tight and centered with the hole, and just go very, very, very slow when you drill it. So use the slow speed on your drill, and you're just going to come down there, and you can feel it. You can feel if it's getting caught. It should go through really pretty quickly. So drill that out to the bottom. Then that comes off. And then what I did after that is I came in here with a larger drill bit and I countersunk this slightly, maybe about 5 millimeters of an inch. I sunk that, and that's to help guide the tap. So the next process after drilling this out is to tap the hole. So that requires a second bushing here. And the proper tap that came with with the kit. I'm looking for the tap right now. I just had it here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so the tap. So the tap's going to go down here. So that bushing goes down in there, and you hold that down very tightly. And in this case, I used a socket that fit the tap handle because I couldn't get in there with the regular tap handle. And you just slowly, slowly, slowly turn this until it starts to bite. And you feel like maybe you've got maybe a couple of threads, okay? And once you do that, then what you want to do is take that bushing off, thread it down in there, a few threads, okay? And check for level, just to make sure. So what I have here is just a protractor I had in my drawer where I keep all my measuring tools, and lay this on the head here and check to make sure that it's parallel with this it's a perfect 90 degree, and which it is. Okay, check it there. Check it on the front side. That's perfect. So you only need to check two sides. So as long as it's parallel this way and parallel this way, you're good. A little bit of looseness in there. So if I go sneak up on it like this and I go, okay, well, without moving it, I'm a little, it's leaning that way a little bit. So you put your guide back on here, knowing that. And you can also look down here at the bottom of the bushing, and you can see that it's flat. You shouldn't see any daylight underneath of that bushing, which I don't. So it's a little bit loose. So knowing that it's leaning that way a little bit, I'm just going to push down, and I'm just going to give a little bit more pressure in this direction, just to kind of help guide it down and through the hole. And then get this guy on there and just slowly turn it. Once you get down probably about, 8 or 10 threads, it's going to center itself, and you probably don't even need this guide anymore, okay? Because it's just the first initial part of this is the most crucial, but once you got it straight, it's going to center itself, okay? Okay, so it's nice and flat. Now that went really easy because I already tapped this hole before I started the video, just to make the video shorter, but I just want to show you the concept of it, okay? And use some kind of tapping fluid on there. I have this, I've had this for a long time. It's just aluminum cutting fluid. Coat the threads with that. And don't try to do it all at once. Go about halfway and then pull it out, blow out the hole, cover up anything that's going to get any metal in it. This just has a hole goes right through, so I didn't plug that. And so then take it out. You'll have metal in here in between these flutes. There's even a tiny bit still left in here. Blow it off. Blow the hole out. And then do your final cut. Same process. Clean it out, blow it out. Okay, now comes the threading of the actual Heli coil. So that's where the third guide comes in, because some of the kits, like the actual Heli coil brand, they have a plastic guide that goes down over the rod here, and pushes down. So you actually push down on it, and that's to collapse these springs so that they're touching, so that they follow the threads better. So here's my third bushing that I drilled out to the same size as this. Okay, You do not need to put any Loctite on these, okay? Once they're in there, man. So this is a very crucial part because you got to go slow. So I'm going to put some oil, some cutting oil on here just to make it go smoother, so that this stainless steel doesn't bind on the aluminum threads. Okay, so now, we got it down in there, and we're putting pressure on that spring with our guide. And we're going to slowly thread this in. Okay? The problem has been with this, that the frame is in the way. So I had to buy an extra long drill bit, an 8-inch drill bit to get past this frame. So I couldn't get a tap handle on there because of the frame. So I'm just using my handy dandy little crescent wrench here. These come in really handy. And we're going to keep going with that thread until it bottoms out. I hope you can see that. I don't know. Just so I can get in here a little bit. So I'm putting pressure on this guide. Pretty much it's going to follow the threads that you cut with the tap, but I've had, if you don't put a little bit of pressure on it, it can if the Heli coil is allowed to spread out, it can skip a groove and not go in smoothly. So just a little bit of pressure, not a lot. You can see it's going in pretty easy. A little tedious. It's about a $150 job if you took it to a machine shop. I charge hourly. So this is a $75 job. It usually takes about an hour. Okay, so I've just bottomed out. Don't over crank it, just leave it. Okay, just stop, you're done. It's hit the bottom of the thread. So just remember that this tap is tapered. So really, you're stopping about that far from the bottom. So that's really where that Heli coil stopped. So just remember that if you're putting two of them in, make sure you got the distance to stack to. Because if you don't have the distance to stack to, then you got to cut one of them off. The second one, you got to shorten it. And you can do that with a little Dremel grinder and like just take a row of threads off, one or two threads off, because you don't want it sitting above the threads that you cut with the kit. Okay, it's got this last tang here. Oop, just dropped it. It's under the lift. Grab another one. So yeah, most people would edit out that little thing, but I don't care. I don't have time for editing. That's the real world. This is what happens in a shop. You drop things. Anyway, so so here's the top of it here. So when I measure, so you got to measure the depth of the hole. Use a gauge. You can simply use a screwdriver if you want to drop down to that bottom of that hole. and then kind of mark the screwdriver and say, okay, that's how deep it is, and then lay that up against your die. So you can even see right here where I marked this little screwdriver. And I'm doing this because, a lot of you guys don't have micrometers or gauges that have a depth gauge on it. I do. Here it is. So, this comes out the end. So I could do a depth gauge with this as well and lock it in. Okay. But if you don't have one of these, this is how you can do it. So I measured the hole. I go, okay, well, it's so deep. I'm hitting that tang in there now. I did this before. Okay, so I marked it already right here with a black marker. So you lay this up against that tool and you go, okay, well, in reality, my insert is going to stop here. It's not going to stop here because this is tapered and the thread is going to stop. So right here is where it actually is cutting the thread. Down here, it won't go any further. So I'm like, okay, well, it stops here, honestly, and it's this deep. So do I have room for 2 of these Heli coils stacked? And I measure those and lay those down in here and say, okay, there's one there and there's one here. Okay, yeah, I've got room for 2. And it's not going to sit above my top plate. So that's what you got to figure out. So here we go with the next one. Makes sense. I mean, so if you don't have some kind of mechanical ability, you probably shouldn't be attempting this, If you're not understanding what I'm saying about measuring depth and making sure that when you stack these, that you're not going to have this Heli coil sitting above this plate. Well, actually, above the top of the thread, I countersunk this a little bit. And so it can't go above the thread that I cut for this insert in this case. And I do that, I countersink that because when this goes in, it's tapered. So if this hole was the exact same size as the hole that I needed to thread this thing would be sitting here wobbling on top. So by countersinking it, I get past that taper and into the straight part of this so that it doesn't wobble as much, okay? Because if it was up here, it would be doing this kind of stuff. But with the guide, it helps too. It's just a habit I've gotten into by countersinking this a little bit to help me with my alignment. Not completely necessary, but it just takes longer. You got to screw it in a little bit, check it, screw it in, check it, tap it with a little hammer. I have this tiny little machinist hammer I love to use. Just give it a little tap, get it lined up, do a couple of threads, check it. So it's tedious. Nothing done right, is quick. So take your time and you'll have some success. Okay, so this piece right here just goes right on top of the second one. Something's hanging up on something. Okay. It is possible to pull this out if you've got a tang that's left that you can get with a piece of needle nose or pick it out with a pick, and if you can get a pair of needle nose on it, you can actually pull it out like a spring. So don't panic if you screw up. As long as you can get in there with a pick and lift one of those coils out and get in behind it with a pair of needle nose, small needle nose, you can actually unscrew it and pull it out and do it over. Trust me, I've had to do that a couple of times. So if you have a problem, don't panic. You don't have to drill it out or anything. And you know, definitely do not want to try to drill it out, because that stainless steel insert is super hard, and it'll throw your drill bit into the sidewall of the aluminum that you're trying to fix, and you're gonna screw it up worse than it was when you started. So yeah, definitely, you know, key is taking your time. Okay, it just stopped. So it just stopped on top of the one that we put in before. So we're gonna pull this out, check it. And that thread insert is, geez, I don't think I could have gotten any closer. It is right at the top of the hole that I drilled. Let's see if I can, hopefully you can see that. Okay, what it looks like. Flashlight. Here's my flashlight. So that is a completed Heli coil. And I don't know if you can, maybe if you can zoom in if you're watching this. There's a little tab down there. You don't have to break out the second tab. You just got to break out that first tab. So let me get my little punch, my drift punch. Okay. Come back. This should be the right size. Yep, right down in there. Yeah, pretty sure that's gone. Check it. Need a smaller punch. Down the bottom. All right. Let's try the bolt. Actually, I'm gonna take a long hole. Felt something in there. It wasn't a tang. I don't know what it was. There. All right, we are done. Okay, so went through both of them, bottomed out. It'll torque now, and we will not have that head gasket leak that we were fixing here. That head gasket leaked right here because this bolt was not torqued, and the oil leaked here and came around here and leaked down onto the header. So anyways, I hope that was helpful to you guys, and I hope you learned something from it. Please like the video and subscribe if you want to see any more videos. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.